Now let's move on to the impact of OC models in districts and schools. Two independent studies have now shown very strong student learning gains for small teams led by multi-classroom leaders. A 2018 study looked at implementation in three early opportunity culture districts. Another looked at a Texas district's outcomes during the 2020-2021 pandemic year. In the Texas study, the researchers highlighted how positive the results were for all students, and especially for English language learners and students considered socioeconomically at risk. The research shows that teachers were on average at the 50th percentile in terms of student learning gains before joining a team led by an MCL. After joining the MCL team, they produced learning gains equivalent to the teachers at the 77th percentile on average. When we apply the method of Stanford researchers to these results to convert the data into years of learning, we see that they equate to an extra half year of learning for students each year, just by having an MCL with prior high growth guide the team. In the Texas study, the nearly 2,000 English learners taught by opportunity culture teams had even larger reading gains. Again, using the Stanford researchers method, that meant an extra 1.3 years of learning compared with other English learners. Other recent data collected by the public impact team show that opportunity culture schools are over 50% more likely to achieve school-wide high growth than non-OC schools by their fourth year, when they are reaching about 75% of students on average with MCLs in the 4 core subjects. These are great results, but we now believe, given research and data, that students can make even greater learning growth by adding all team reach consistently and increasing small group tutoring time at school. Providing those can help students make even more learning growth than you see here, and equitably offer the kind of learning boost that advantaged students disproportionately get outside of school. Let's consider what it means for opportunity culture teachers led by MCLs to impact student learning growth. As you can see, before having an MCL, about half of teachers produce learning growth in the bottom half, and half produce learning growth in the top half. A small portion produce really low learning growth, that darker yellow on the far left, and a small portion produce really high learning growth, the pale blue on the far right. But after teachers join MCL teams, we see a dramatic shift. Most teachers move to excellence in their first year on an MCL team. Studies show that compared to non-opportunity culture teachers, a very significant majority of teachers on MCL teams shift to the top half. That is all the blue in comparison to the teachers without MCLs. Also really exciting is that more than half now produce student learning growth over the 75th percentile, with the average right at the 77th percentile. The shift means very few produce bottom half learning growth, and only a tiny portion produce very low learning growth. The small percentage of teachers who may still struggle persistently includes long-term subs and perhaps those who do not adapt alongside an MCL's changes or the school's shift to a culture of coaching. But again, the good news is that just a very small portion of teachers now. We believe that it is helpful to focus on how districts and schools can build their pay and opportunity systems around the vast blue zone here, as well as consider how they can include as many teachers as possible in career and pay opportunities to help foster a culture of excellence that sets a standard for everyone. Opportunity culture models can bring about whole school transformation if schools go school-wide with new roles within 3 years, as vacancies provide the means for these new roles and pay. And this is just the start for opportunity culture schools. With more team reach teachers on MCL's teams, those who reach more students for more pay, and for more in-person small group tutoring at school, learning can rise even more than shown here. Fewer teachers will produce growth at the low end, and more will produce even higher growth at the high end, based on extensive opportunity culture and non-opportunity culture research. Reaching all students in each school and reaching all schools with these roles will prevent learning loss in other years. You can see what I just voiced over illustrated here. This slide answers the question, why do students need dramatic learning growth for all and including all educators consistently? A student in a typical school makes 1 year of growth annually. So students who start behind stay behind. If 3 students start out 2 years behind, where do they end up after 9 years on average? Opportunity culture schools disrupt this with a proven learning boost of increased access to excellent teaching and small group tutoring through multi-classroom leadership, plus all team reach, which also reduces the number of low growth years, such as those years where students have long-term subs. Here we can see the effects of consistent access to different approaches for students who start 2 years behind over 9 years. For example, by 8th grade, where is the child who started kindergarten 2 years behind? Please note this could apply to any years of school, not just K-8. Having an MCL alone provides substantial benefits, about an extra half year of learning every year on average, according to 2 third-party studies. Adding all team reach and paraprofessionals who tutor small groups and having all teachers spend more time teaching small groups boosts learning even more, according to many dozens of studies, more than an extra year on average. Tutoring during school hours has the biggest effect, but tutoring of any kind, anytime, is beneficial. And while the effects are strongest overall in groups of 3 to 6 students, groups up to 10 work. This research on tutoring is for all in-person small group tutoring and may include teaching short lessons, assistance with assignments, and the like, a wide range of help. Given that research, we conservatively show an additional 1/2 year of learning per year from extra small group tutoring on an MCL team with all team reach. And our students get far ahead by the end of middle school. Research says that even a couple of half-hour group tutoring sessions weekly for 20 weeks in a subject creates very high growth. It also suggests that more than 20 weeks in a school year does not necessarily help more. In this example, students who have access year after year to extra tutoring of any kind begin to look like geniuses early on and continuing through high school, as many advantaged students do because of learning boosts they receive outside of school. For these reasons, adding all team reach and extra small group tutoring in person by teachers, paraprofessionals, and volunteers to MCL teams is a recommended approach to achieve educational equity for students. As a bonus, this approach allows schools to pay a lot of teachers and paraprofessionals well-deserved pay supplements for their new roles. Here we can see what happens to schools if a school does not follow through with the school-wide implementation plans, stopping at reaching 2/3 of the school, for example, implementing only some of the grades. This reduces their learning boost versus than what we saw in the previous slide. Put simply, student learning growth on average in OC schools would go up about 50% in their first year and beyond just by reaching 100% of classrooms in schools already implementing OC. Public Impact's hope is to work with you all to ensure that school design teams create financially sustainable school-wide plans that will work, reaching a bare minimum of 3/4 of students in all 4 core subjects at least. We continuously improve our work to support schools in this effort as school budgets constantly change. The job of the district and principals is to implement the plans and then maintain the reach of MCLs and other roles across the school over time as staffing and budgets change. Remember, OC schools and districts not only work to reach all students with excellent teaching consistently, but all educators with outstanding career opportunities. So let's consider what OC means for teachers. When schools create MCL teaching teams in which all teachers reach more students for more pay and create a tutoring culture in which all available adults focus their time on small group tutoring, educators get a host of benefits. Beyond the high growth, opportunities for more pay and advancement without having to leave the classroom, and time for more collaboration. I want to highlight several other benefits. In an anonymous opportunity culture educator survey, satisfaction is high for paraprofessional reach associates and those in team reach roles, in which they reach students directly for more pay, which correlates with student learning growth. And surveys show 97 to 99% of MCLs want opportunity culture implementation to continue. Paid teacher residencies create equitable pathways into teaching as well. And while these residents are learning on the job how to teach under the tutelage of an MCL, they also provide instructional support to the team, along with reach associates and TAs through small group tutoring. Everyone on the team becomes part of a national community of educators in similar roles. And the learning growth results persist from year to year because these team teachings reduce the need for long-term subs who may produce lower learning growth.